President Ulysses S. Grant said that a worker is the author of all greatness and wealth. Many of us who go to work each day would probably agree with that assessment, although we might come up a little short on the wealth end. Today's workers seem to be gaining less wealth from working than they did just a few years ago. According to the Economic Policy Institute, if you compare 2014 wages with those in 2007, before the recession, hourly wages for most Americans were either flat or falling, in spite of never really being away from work very much.
We take our work with us. It travels on our iPhones or on our laptops. And it used to be said that a farmer's work is never done. Well, I think that seems to apply to too many of us.
That's Thomas A. Cohen, a professor at MIT's Sloan School of Management and author of the book Shaping the Future of Work. Cohen says that not only does the technology affect how we work, employer-worker relationships have changed over the decades as well.
In the 60s and 70s, there tended to be a very clear place where work was done and where work wasn't done, at home and so on. You had a very clear idea of who you worked for, in the sense of, I work for IBM, or I work for General Motors, or I work for the department store down the street, and you knew who the employer was, and you knew your role in that organization. And you tended to stay a longer period of time than people do today. Today, the definition of the employer is sometimes a little bit blurred. Do I work for Uber, or do I work for myself? Or do I work for MIT, or am I an independent contractor in an IT department working, or a temporary employee working for some temp agency?
Cohen's book addresses the issues of how corporate structures and priorities have changed over the years to maximize profits by keeping rank-and-file workers' wages low and benefits at a minimum, if they exist at all. How did we get to this point? And what do we need to do to level the work-wage playing field? There are a number of reasons why corporate structures changed. Junk bonds and corporate raiders in the 1980s broke up and decimated many businesses. People began to think that corporations were legally required to maximize shareholder profits at any cost, including wholesale layoffs, which is a myth. Then came the aggrandizement of CEOs, which Cohen says is partly the fault of business schools like his own.
Over the last 25 years, we've elevated the CEO to a godlike figure. Charismatic, transformational leaders. You can buy books by just about every CEO that was successful in the 90s and the 80s and up to today with their leadership tips for how to do this. So we've lost sight of the fact that underneath those CEOs is a team of managers, executives, frontline employees that generate the ideas and the productivity and get the job done.
Cohen says that universities and businesses need to educate executives in just how the workforce contributes to the overall success of the corporation.
We don't teach enough of the teamwork, of distributed leadership, of the value of building high productivity, high-quality workforce strategies among all employees in the organization. Instead, we kind of segregate that to people at the top. So we've got to change how we teach in business schools so the next generation of managers knows how to get value out of everyone and knows how to invest in everyone. And we've stopped training. We've reduced the amount of training, particularly that large firms have historically done. And so we've got to get back to some of those very basic things that we know are successful in building high road firms where not only the share owners can benefit, but employees and their customers can benefit as well.
Cohen says that universities, post-high school programs, and lifelong learning strategies need to be created collaboratively with business so that future employees can become real assets to industry throughout their working lives.
We do have to start to figure out where's the investment in education and training on a lifelong basis going to come from. If it's not going to come from inside the firm, then it better come from staying current with one's skills, keeping current and using ongoing education and training from universities and technical schools, using the online tools of education and training on a lifelong basis, and encouraging firms to work together to train people, so that we know that when labor and management get together to create apprenticeship programs for people in construction trades or in manufacturing or in the IT area. They can create skills that people can then come in and apply in different organizations because they have some commonality of training and credentials.
The public and the workforce can have a role in how businesses are structured these days. Kohan talks about how employees and customers of a 100-year-old family-owned business in New England, Market Basket grocery stores, banded together to keep the business from changing their model. The third generation of the family was taking over, and there was a faction that wanted to cut wages and benefits for the 25,000 employees in their 71 stores to maximize profits for themselves. The store employees, drivers, managers, and the communities where they were located revolted.
All non-union, but they said, look, you're going to destroy our company. This is our company. We built it this way. We have a CEO who knows how to get the best out of us and who respects us, and now you're going to destroy all that? And so they revolted, and for 6 weeks they essentially went on strike. And the community supported them. The public, their customers supported them because they said, these are our stores. We get our prices at 20% or 15% lower than any other grocery chain, and now you're going to take all that away from us as well. And so in the end, the board of directors had to sell the business to the CEO who had been loyal to this business model. The business came back. It's going strong. The public resonated with this business because they said, that's the kind of business that we would like to see in other areas. We believe that this is the kind of business you can build in this country, be proud of, have people stand up for it, serve our customers well, serve our communities well, serve the owners and the investors well, but also serve the employees. I've been studying this stuff and working with labor and management for over 30 years, and I never saw anything like Market Basket, so that's why it was a teachable moment.
Kohan says that the Market Basket model isn't the only one where loyal employees and customers enjoy a good product and customer service. Southwest Airlines and Costco are two others. Business schools, workers, and customers are only part of the equation. Kohan says that government has a role to play in making the workplace and the economy stronger and more equitable for all.
Yes, we've got to rein in Wall Street, and we've got to regulate. The Dodd-Frank regulations are a step in the right direction. We've got to make sure that we start to regulate hedge funds and start to treat hedge fund workers the same as regular income. We've got to make sure that we limit the power of Wall Street to dictate the short-term pressures on business. And we can do that by having transaction tax to create incentives for longer-term income streams. And we're seeing some movements on Wall Street to move by some in this direction. Then we've got to fundamentally transform our labor and employment policies to reflect the changes in the economy, where we now have 2 family members in the labor force. So we need more flexibility. We need a paid leave policy so that people can take care of their family and their work responsibilities.
He says we also need to modernize labor laws to fit today's work environment and build partnerships where workers can contribute to improvements and productivity and also reap rewards for their contributions. Also, labor unions should be training workers with the skills they need on a lifelong basis. Kohan says that young people are the key to pushing these changes forward.
They're hungry for a new approach, and they want to address big problems in society. They want to address how are we going to save our planet and climate change and all of those. They want to address poverty and health care, but they also want respect, and they want to have a decent standard of living. And they want to have a personal and professional life, whether it's traditional family structures or alternative ways of spending their personal time. But they want to use technology. They want to use entrepreneurship. They want to hold others accountable for a fair share for everybody. And I'm very, very optimistic about the next generation.
You can find more information on how corporations, workers, and communities can move toward a more modern and equitable work environment for all in Thomas Kohan's book, Shaping the Future of Work, available at discount on his website at speakupforwork.com. For more information about all of our guests, log on to our site at viewpointsonline.net. You can find archives of past programs there and on iTunes and Stitcher. Our show is written and produced by Pat Reuter. Our production directors are Sean Waldron and Reed Pence. I'm Marty Peterson.
Colorectal cancer is the second leading cancer killer in the United States. It can be prevented with screening, which is a big reason that colon cancer deaths are down over the past 15 years. Here are the facts. Colon cancer strikes men and women equally, and most people who develop it don't have a family history. The biggest risk factor? Your age, according to Dr. Doug Fagel, president of the American Society for Gastrointestinal Endoscopy.
Everybody should be screened for colorectal cancer starting at age 50 or earlier for people with certain risk factors. Colonoscopy is the most effective screening test and the only one that can actually prevent colon cancer. Some people worry about preparing for colonoscopy, but afterwards, people often tell us they're glad they had the test or wish they'd done it sooner. So our message is simply this: prep, scope, live.
Find out more about getting screened and why it's important at screenforcoloncancer.org. That's screen, the number 4, coloncancer.org.
Raising awareness for women's empowerment can inspire women around the world. Actress and activist Sophia Bush is teaming with beauty accessory brand EcoTools to flood social media with positive messages of empowerment and self-confidence, all while benefiting national nonprofit Glamour's The Girl Project.
I've collaborated with EcoTools and the Girl Project to help inspire women to empower one another. Whether sending a note of encouragement or volunteering and contributing to a great organization, this is an opportunity for women to raise our collective voice and share messages of empowerment. For every message shared on social media using hashtag #MyTrueBeauty and tagging @EcoTools, EcoTools will donate $1 to the Girl Project, a global nonprofit supporting girls around the globe by breaking down the barriers to secondary education.
Join the conversation at hashtag #MyTrueBeauty and follow EcoTools and Sophia Bush on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For more information on the program and how to get involved, go to ecotools.com. That's ecotools.com.
If you're one of the nearly 30 million Americans with diabetes that regularly test their blood sugar, you rely on your meter to help you and your healthcare professional detect high and low blood sugar and make therapy and lifestyle adjustments. Now the new One-Touch Vario Flex meter with ColorSure technology takes the guesswork out of interpreting results. Endocrinologist Dr. Jeremy Pettis explains.
Many people with diabetes have difficulty making sense of their blood sugar results. The One-Touch Vario Flex meter has a simple color range indicator that uses blue, green, and red to instantly tell you when your readings are low, in range, or high. And for patients who want additional insights and information, the meter connects wirelessly with the One-Touch Reveal mobile app on iOS and Android devices.
Simple, accurate, and easy to use, the One-Touch VarioFlex meter is available now with an estimated price of under $20. One-Touch is the brand most recommended by endocrinologists and primary care physicians. To learn more, visit onetouch.com.